Hi, this is Landon Bryce from ThoughtCast.com, and I want to talk with you today a little bit about autism and summarizing. Summarizing is very important for everybody. It's actually the second most effective teaching technique after identifying similarities and differences. But it's especially important for people with autism to work on because it can be especially difficult for us. I think in part because oftentimes it's easier for us to simply recall the entire thing. It can be difficult for us to pull out the most important details. Also, a real summary is in your own words, and for people with autism, generating original language can also be difficult. What do you do about summary? Well, first of all, if I were in control of every classroom in the world, every class would end with the teacher telling the students to take, 3 to 5 minutes and summarize what happened in that lesson, and also write down, what do you need to do before the next lesson, and when do you need to what do you need to turn in? It's two different things. What do you need to do? What do you need to turn in? But most significantly, just summarize what exactly happened in the class, because if you can do that, if you can go back and say, okay, this is what we did, this is what we learned, then you're helping your brain to go back over it. You're not just being passive. You're not just moving indirectly from one classroom to another. You're actually taking the time to process what you're learning. So, as I say, summarizing can be especially difficult for people with autism, but the good thing is that it's something that you can work on almost always. Anytime you watch a TV show, you can stop afterwards and summarize it. You can actually do that during commercials. You can say, okay, this is what happened, right, during this. Just don't watch the commercials. It's always a good idea not to watch the commercials anyway. So turn off, or rather, before blipping on with the TV, just stop, blip, 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 blip. Or like if you like to watch news stories, you can watch the news, and then just stop and then say, okay, this is what happened. Or if you like to watch videos on YouTube, you can do that. But just when you finish something, just practice going back over and say, okay, these were the main ideas. If you're working with kids, one of the most important things to remember about summary is that it doesn't have to happen in words, that you can use pictures, that you can take different symbols to represent different ideas. And practicing with drawing a picture as a summary can be very successful for many autistic adults. So think about different types of summary that go beyond simply using words. But I think you'll find, my cat's being loud because the birds are being loud outside. Sorry. But I think you'll find that if you take just a little bit of time, to work on summarizing, it will pay off greatly. Before we stop, I want to explain absolutely my favorite summary technique, which is absolutely also my favorite reading technique. It's so simple. I use it myself when I was in graduate school, and I had difficulty with paying attention to reading, or when I'm working with something now that I have difficulty with. This is what I do. I read until I notice that until I notice I'm not paying attention, and then I go back and I summarize what I've just read, and then I go back and I find, okay, what's the last thing I can adequately summarize? If I can't keep up without doing so, I will say, okay, I'm going to stop and summarize after every paragraph, or I'm going to stop and summarize after every page, or I'm going to stop and summarize every 3 or 5 minutes. But when you're reading, if you can get yourself to stop and say, okay, this is what I just read, these were the important ideas. Number one, that make sure that you actually are understanding what you're reading and not just scanning your eyes over it. But it also is the best technique I am aware of as a teacher, having used it with hundreds of kids. It is absolutely the best way to improve your reading comprehension, and also your reading speed. So, summarize. It's a good thing.